All right, DSLA Protocol, Decentralized Risk Management. Hello everyone, this is your host, Wilhem Pujar, CEO at Tactical, the core development team of DSLA Protocol. We are going to share a quick update today, provide you with additional information and context about some of the things that we announced, what we are shipping right as I speak, and some of the good things that are coming in October, actually, and a bit later, but specifically in October. This is dedicated to developers in the sense that it's a dive on the developer ecosystem announcement, but everybody is welcome to watch the video, and I'm sure there will be plenty of information interesting to all kind of populations. We're going to discuss listings, networks, use cases, new currencies for the DSLA protocol, and also the DSLA Academy. What is the DSLA Academy? We are going to tackle this a tiny bit today before the actual unveil. And starting with exchange listings, I'm hearing the community. I know that you guys want DSLA to thrive on major exchanges, and it's definitely part of my job to make it happen, so I'm trying to make it happen right now, and we're working on getting listed to at least one, but ideally 3 exchanges by the end of the next quarter. And it's a community request, so you know that these projects like DSLA and everything in this space is community driven. So we take our responsibility to listen to your feedbacks really seriously, but also from a more fundamental standpoint, I think centralized exchanges are still a great alternative to DEXs. I can't believe I'm saying that. But this is true because not everybody is deep into DeFi just yet. DeFi can be scary. And these centralized exchanges do a great job at providing the level of quality of service that you need, so that you don't quite fully understand the value proposition of decentralized exchanges right now, especially when the level of fees get insane. So definitely a good point for centralized exchanges out there. The other key reasons is obvious. If you want DSLA to have a global footprint, global recognition, we need to pair the DSLA brand with brands like Coinbase, Binance, and the likes. As I told you, first quarter of 2022 is the objective for this. But today we are live on 4 new DEXs. And you know DEX is very important for DSLA because DSLA is very close to the DeFi space. So it was really important to make sure that we exist in a bunch of different ecosystems. So we are listing now on SushiSwap for Harmony, Trader Joe for Avalanche, SpookySwap for Phantom, and PancakeSwap for the Binance Smart Chain. And since this is too long, I just put Binance on the slide. So 4 DEXs, because as I said, we need to use these DEXs as on-ramp to the DSLA protocol experience. We are close to DeFi. This is the gateway to DSLA, to go to the DEX, to acquire the DSLA token, then to spend the DSLA token on DSLA.network. So the major key number 1 is to have at least 1 DEX per DSLA protocol mainnet deployments, and provide this as an alternative to Uniswap through the 4 exchanges that I just mentioned. Because the key competitive advantage of these other networks that are Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, and Phantom is the low fees. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Transaction per second is a thing, and waiting for your transaction to be verified is a thing. But you could wait a bit more if it was only 1 cent on Ethereum. I believe so. Last but not least, incentive programs, like diving into this ecosystem like that by basically investing the entire DeFi stack, starting with the DEX, gives us access to incentive programs like Avalanche Rush, for instance, or the Binance Smart Chain Most Valuable Product Builder program that we are both trying to have a careful look at, you know. These DEXs are live today. As I said, you just need to check the CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko to see what's going on. But without further ado, networks, one of my favorite parts of these updates, because today I am proud to announce that we are live, up and running on 6 different proof-of-stake networks and mainnets. Originally we were on Ethereum, then we deployed to Polygon and Harmony, and thanks again to the Harmony family and community for providing such a tremendous level of support to DSLA from the very beginning. And there are big reasons why we've been able to shape the project up until where it's at today. But today we are going to bring some competitions into the DSLA Protocol multiverse with Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, and Phantom. I'm hiding it a bit, but yeah, Phantom is there. So 3 new networks, a total of 6, meaning that we officially beat our 5 mainnet objective for this year. This is a milestone, hashtag celebrate the champagnes on me. In all seriousness, the reason for this EVM first strategy is that with EVM deployments today, we have a repeatable EVM launch playbook. This means that we have ways to automate the deployment of DSLA protocol to all these networks with very low technical overhead and while keeping a very satisfying level of security. Because typically you don't need to extensively re-audit everything because it's still running on an EVM and abide by the rules of the Ethereum virtual machine, which is what EVM stands for actually. These networks are live. We are in the process of deploying the DSLA.network dApp so that anyone can easily tap into them. The next items on the network deployment roadmap, aka new mainnets for DSLA, is DSLA for Oasis, the Oasis network landing this quarter because we are on October 1st. This will be the last EVM compatible deployment of DSLA protocol. We are like huge believer in Oasis for so many reasons. We think that privacy is not only important, but a fundamental right. So having a blockchain that is able to find the balance between being a public network and having baked in privacy capabilities is really important and is going to be a game changer. So watch very closely for the launch of DSLA on the Oasis network. Then we will venture into non-EVM grounds with Tezos and Elrond. It's much more difficult to deploy an existing protocol onto these networks because you need to pretty much rewrite everything from scratch. And you also need to rewrite it in a way that truly taps into the specificities and the special capabilities of a given network. And why Tezos and why Elrond? I mean, yeah, you'll see. Typically, use cases have been really gravitating around the notion of what kind of economic performance you can expect from your third-party staking providers, which is why these are staking APR SLAs. We have been battle testing this use case for the past months. Again, thanks to the One community, because we provided first and up until this day One staking APR SLAs that helps Harmony delegators hedge against possible APR drops. And you know that whenever your first-party service provider do something wrong, your actual rewards can be impacted, and DSLA is an excellent technology to address that. That's why it makes sense to, use staking APR as a flagship use case. But today, we need to seduce and onboard validators as well. And from the perspective of tech people, tech girls and tech guys working with servers, which is what the validation work is about, they think in terms of uptime, right? Uptime SLA is a new type of SLA contracts that will potentially please validators. So we are pretty excited to launch this for Avalanche validators and Harmony validators because it's really, as I would say, flagship as APR, depending on who you are talking to. And it's a direct validator request, just like we really listen to end users in the community, we listen to validator as well that help us really shape a product that fits their needs and solves their issues. And from the validator standpoint, DSLA is an excellent tool to do customer acquisition and customer retention. Really boost your ability to onboard delegators by providing money-backed SLA warranties to anyone in your network. And for Avalanche, this is very specific because there is no slashing capabilities on Avalanche, so validators are not really held, I would say, accountable for their mistakes compared to other networks. And I'm not questioning the lack of slashing in the Avalanche design at all. I think the lack of slashing actually makes a lot of sense because so far proof-of-stake networks have, and I'm talking about core teams, have always struggled to define the slashing percentage. Why would you do a 20% slashing of holdings, for example, if the validator behaves poorly instead of doing a 31 or 45 or whatever value? So instead of getting crazy over defining the right value, some network designers are removing slashing today. That's the solution, right? Removing the problem, so no problemo. But I do think that DSLA Protocol can actually be a community for building the first ever community-driven peer-to-peer slashing module for Avalanche. And this is going to be big, trust me. As I said before, uptime amongst validators of all proof-of-stake networks is a common denominator. It's a common metric for measuring the performance and the reliability of your infrastructure. So this is just something that we need to do and ship by October 11th, which is the end of the grace periods for the deployment of Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, and Phantom. And Phantom has a couple special things going on for it. Anyway, talking about currencies, you know that today you can use the DSLA for two things. First, to create SLA contracts. Second, to add liquidity to these SLA contracts. So the vaults of the SLA contracts, or the escrows, or the liquidity pools, however you'd like to call it, it's the same thing. But the true one and only, so far, utility of DSLA token is the verification of contract. DSLA is not a good token to add into DSLA contract votes. There are better options out there. The first one is stablecoins. So adding USDT, USDC, and DAI to the list of currencies that you can provide to DSLA contract is extremely important. The other option is using native currencies of the network. If you are within the Phantom ecosystem, it makes sense for you to be able to deposit FTM to a DSLA contract pool running on the Phantom network. And last but not least, we want to play with liquid staking tokens because we simply believe that the future of DeFi will be about not using native currencies anymore, but using assets representing these native currencies. The purpose of native currencies, as far as we are concerned, is to be staked, at the protocol level. And what the STEEF, which is the staked Ethereum token, does is instead of just delegating ETH to a pool and waiting a year for your reward, you are able to just stake your ETH to the Ethereum 2.0 beacon chain and get a Steve token or a bunch of Steve tokens representing your deposit in exchange, so that you remain fully liquid, because the Steve token in itself can be traded and you will get Steve tokens periodically as you're getting rewards for your Ethereum 2.0 staking. I don't want to dive too much into that because I think that's a huge dedicated topic to address. But really, you need to understand that liquid staking might very well be the future of DeFi. To add to that, DSLA is definitely not the right token to be in vaults, because the value at risk, the value that you can lose while delegating your tokens, your coins on proof of stake network is far superior to the DSLA market cap. That's the way it is. So that means that to cover this risk, you would need to use virtually every DSLA token in circulation. That doesn't work, right? So it's very important to provide these currency options to address that. The second point is, as I said, if you're in the Phantom ecosystem, using FTM makes much more sense. So new currencies is also new perspectives when it comes to user onboarding. We are reducing friction. We are making it easier for anybody to jump in. And the third aspect, and one of the key reasons, and I could have put it in first because it's that important, it's composability. Composability is a huge topic, especially in the DSLA Protocol version 2.0, because the way we have executed so far, just like we wanted to battle test APR, we wanted to battle test one of the fundamentals of DSLA, which is how a DSLA contract and its vaults work, basically. So we really focused on the very nature of DSLA contract, in the sense that DSLA contracts are zero-sum prediction markets, and based on the outcome of a monitoring series of events, meaning that based on the weekly performance of your validator, we will know who is going to get the reward from the vote in the DSLA contracts. Who will get the reward? Is it the provider because the contract has been respected, or is it the delegator because the contract has been breached? And this is the fundamental value proposition, and I cannot stress enough the importance of sticking to that instead of relying to the wrong yield farming and yield generating schemes in order for the project to take off. You want to take off with fundamentals. Once you have fundamentals nailed down, you can scale to the sexy stuff, right? And the sexy stuff is thinking in terms of bringing yield aggregation to the DSLA contracts vaults, and stablecoins and native currencies will also provide this ability. For example, you can imagine that if you store USDT tokens in a DSLA contract vaults, we could add a lending capability to the contract itself, so that the contract can lend this capital to further increase the reward that you would get as a provider if the contract is respected, or the reward that you would get as a delegator if the contract is not respected. All this stuff, stablecoins are dropping October 14th, native currency are dropping on October 21st, and liquid staking is dropping on October 28th. And composability, again, don't get too excited too quick, even though it's definitely an exciting prospect for the protocol itself. Composability will come soon enough, don't worry. We are working on it, and we already have pretty large partners enabling us to make it happen in the best possible way. The Academy. The DSLA Academy. What is the DSLA Academy? The objective of the DSLA Academy is twofold, or twofolded. I don't know, I'm French. In all seriousness, we want first to acknowledge the right way that we've been really bad at documentation, education, and enabling anyone to understand the project. The famous Eli 5, explain it like I'm 5, you know. DSLA is a technical project that is talking to developers, right? So we made a lot of shortcuts in the past, assuming that our audience knows what's going on, understand the potentials of the product, and understands how they can build exciting things on top of DSLA protocol. But the reality is that there is still a huge gap between the potential and the understanding around DSLA. So the purpose of the DSLA Academy is to build a dedicated application. It will be a DApp that will enable you to study DLTs and DSLA. So decentralized ledger technology, typically blockchain and crypto, and DSLA together, so that you really understand what's in it for you in DSLA protocol, whether you're a third-party service provider, like a validator, or a liquidity provider, or a delegator, or a user, or whatever stakeholder makes sense regarding the type of SLA contracts that are available on the protocol, right? So study DLTs and DSLA in a learn-to-earn fashion. This means that you will get incentivized for learning stuff about DLTs and DSLA, and with the goal of owning the DSLA law. What this means is that I want you to own the DSLA mythology, the family of DSLA concepts. We are going to turn these into items that you will be able to collect. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but it's going to be great and a bit crazy on the side, like it always is with us. Education is truly onboarding. The first step towards adopting DSLA is understanding DSLA. So it just made sense to deal with education like we deal with products, because this is what we are best at. So in order to be good at education, let's tap into our ability to ship products and turn this e-learning experience into its own thing. And I personally strongly believe in the paradigm shift between what I call passive lecture and active ownership. Passive lecture is the idea of having someone in front of you teaching you something and you receive this information, whereas active ownership, it's much more about getting this knowledge but tokenizing this knowledge so that this knowledge become an asset that you can trade, right? So you're not reading a documentation with the DSLA Academy. You're owning the documentation, and you can welcome new people by, let's say, trading concept with them, for example, and build a real gameplay around DSLA protocol. And what if DSLA protocol was a game? How would that translate in terms of user interface and user experience? And what will this do for the branding of the project, for DSLA as a brand? Branding is role play, right? It's not the time of social media anymore. It's the time of social ownership. You don't want to interact with a brand. You want to own part of it. You want to be an active player of the branding law, of the brand's mythology. And this is exactly what we are going to tease on October 7th, before a full unveil later this month, hopefully. And I will make sure to introduce you to a very, very, very special partner that will take the meaning of branding in this industry to the next level. A couple dates. I know you like dates. Don't need to ask me about coin market cal or coin calendar or whatever coin calendar platform you're using. This will be listed on all of them, right? And by listing these on all of them, we are making some form of commitment that we want to ship these in time. So you know that when something is on CoinMarketCal, it's something that we are confident in shipping on time. October 7th, the DSLA Academy teaser. So much more information, but not unveiling the entire thing, because this could be many things, but what we have in mind is unprecedented. October 11th, new use case, validator uptime SLA for Harmony and Avalanche, knowing that again, the first community-driven peer-to-peer slashing module for Avalanche. This will answer the concerns, the uncertainty, the doubts, the fears of a lot of people in the Avalanche ecosystem regarding the design choice of not having slashing built in at the protocol level. If slashing is not built in at the protocol level for a proof-of-stake network, DSLA Protocol can come and fill this gap with a ready-to-use technology. October 14th, stablecoins, USDT, USDC, DAI, wherever possible on all 6 mainnet if we can do it. Let's go. October 21st, native tokens. You know the drill, you know the deal. WEF, WMATIC, W1, WAVAX, WBNB, WFTM. I like W because Wilhem starts with W, but this is for the wrapped version of this token. You need a wrapped version of tokens to use them in smart contracts. So it's technically the native but wrapped version of these tokens slash coins. October 28th, liquid token with the Steve. Pay attention to what's happening to liquid staking. Again, we believe this is the future of DeFi. It doesn't make sense to not put your ETH to work, or rather, it doesn't make sense to stake your coins and become instantly illiquid anymore and not being able to interact with DeFi and NFT products. What you want to do is stake your ETH, get another token in exchange, and use this other token to interact with a bunch of different products. That's the way it is, that's the way it will be, I guarantee you. And last but not least, starting now, today, up until the end of the first quarter, we will keep discussing, negotiating, and closing deals with centralized exchanges. But remember, the goal is DeFi. The goal is to decentralize stuff. The goal is to give decentralized exchanges your support and to try out whatever is happening in the space so we can shape the financial infrastructure of the future. So while I understand from a strategic standpoint and from the perspective of user friendliness what centralized exchanges bring to the table, remember that DEX is always the way to go because not your keys, not your coins, and you're well aware of that. That's it. Thank you very much for bearing with me. I know this has been a shaky past couple of days with an AMA announced that I couldn't unfortunately attend, but just know that we keep the hustle going. And I have a huge, I would say, cons in my personality is that I'm extremely resilient to the point of grinding to stuff where 99% of people would give up, right? That's my mentality, my Mamba mentality would say people in love with basketball, but whatever the sports and whatever the metaphor of sport is, know that we are the DSLA champions because we have this resilience and this strength that we nurture and that we use to always push further in whatever we do. I know for a fact that tomorrow we will be better than we were today, just like today we are already better than yesterday. This is your host, Wilhem Pujar, captain of the DSLA Champs, logging out. Thank you.